Hello, guys. So I just came back just maybe what 10 minutes um, from watching Kalki 2898 AD here in Sydney. So I actually like the movie. It's, I went with like I didn't have a lot of expectations because I watched the trailer and I had an idea what it was going to be like because it's like a sci-fi movie. I'm not like a huge fan of sci-fi movies. Uh, I only, I mean, I really like a particular subgenre of sci-fi movies that involves time travel and whatnot. But apart from that, in general, I'm not like a huge fan of these kind of post-apocalyptic sci-fi kind of movies. But that's just my personal taste. But this movie, I'll I'll see what impressed me. I actually felt like watching a Hollywood movie. I didn't feel at any point like that I was watching some Indian movie. That is like a huge achievement in itself. Um, and I don't think any other industry in India they they have this kind of like really creative and imaginative kind of writers slash writer directors or whatever you want to call. I don't know whether Nag Ashwin himself wrote it or just the kind of movies that we have seen in the recent past, right? Like let's say this movie Kalki is one example. There was this Prashant Kishore, right? What was that movie? Again, another Prabhas movie. I'm talking about how they take Indian history and then they make beautiful stories out of it. You know what I mean? Like this movie, I'm not going to give. Okay, by now I think if you've watched the reviews, at least this much, you probably know that it's they have taken the story of Mahabharata and then they have created a post-apocalyptic story as well. What would happen after the I'll tell you that much, right? So I, it's an interesting, it's a beautiful way to think and imagine. There's so much of history in India, right? Like if you start like making stories out of all those mythology and history and whatnot, no one else in the world has that kind of history, as that kind of hmm, except for maybe China or Persia, because these are like really old countries, right? Like I'm talking about like thousands of years of stories worth telling. I think Persia is probably one of the oldest civilizations now, current day Iran. China is one. Every other country is hardly few hundred years old, maybe few thousand years old. But ours is like at least like, you know, 4,000, 5,000, like even more than that, right? So, but there's this potential that I've mentioned this in many other videos as well in the past. There's a huge untapped potential that we have in India, but the directors, writers, they I don't know why they are not making. Thank God that the Telugu industry is starting. You know, looks promising, and on top of that, they have the money to back up whatever story extravagant, whatever the scale at which they want to say. And they have the money too, right? And that is another interesting thing. Yeah, I was actually surprised and like fascinated with the way, they've taken lots of they've inspiration from lots of other sci-fi movies. Like, I've not seen that many. Like, as I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of sci-fi movies, but I've seen here and there, maybe one or two. I've seen, Thor, this Asgard thing, and Star Wars. Maybe I would have seen like one or two movies. So here and there, like, they have taken inspiration from all of those sci-fi movies, right? And then they've created our own Indian take on it. And it looks like there's going to be like a universe. Kalki cinematic universe is what they're calling it. So lot more parts would be coming, part one, part two, and this and that. Kids especially, I feel, would love this movie. I mean, what else? uh, Let me see if I just noted a few points. Okay, because I'm a very forgetful guy. Yeah, on the whole, I like the movie. uh, I remember reading somewhere that it's like a 3D movie, but I didn't watch it in 3D. If let me know in the comment if it is like a 3D movie or what. Because I was just casually browsing this evening, like, what is this? Because I got this YouTube feed, right, and they were already reviews about Kalki. Thankfully, I didn't watch any reviews because otherwise that would have Uh, I didn't want to, like, I sometimes they accidentally you come across spoilers and whatnot, right? So I didn't want that. So as soon as I saw, okay, shit, this movie got released already, and then I right away booked it. I just booked it today, and then the show was at like 8:45 p.m. here in Sydney, and it ended at around like 12 a.m. The time now is like 12:45. So what else, like, lots of I think the because it's like the first part, there's a lot of world building and whatnot in the movie, because you keep wondering who's this guy, who are these, like, Prabhas plays a role of like a bounty hunter kind of a guy. And there's nothing groundbreaking, or there's nothing very innovative or nothing like that. It's like your typical sci-fi kind of a movie set in the future. But there's this Hindu mythological connection to it. So that's how I'll put it, right? And because of that, it becomes really interesting, because our mythologies, they they have a very solid storyline, right? Like, you take Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything, every all both these epics, they have like huge, like, the canvas itself is huge, have lots of characters and this and that, and it's so complex. So if when you take such a story as your base, the sky is the limit, right? You can say whatever, like, and there won't be many flaws, if you because the story itself, that is complex. And eh, That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't know how deep they are gonna go with this mythology in the coming few parts, but it would be interesting to watch. I'm looking forward to the next parts, and there are lots of big names they have acted in this movie. But I don't. I won't tell the names. Maybe you guys go watch it. Mm. They are not like they don't take a lot of time. Maybe a few minutes, but lots of interesting names are there in this movie. And Kamal Hassan's character is he plays the villain kind of, and his character isn't. I don't know. Like, see, so many different movies came into my mind when I was watching. Like Matrix, Mad Max. I don't know. Like, I haven't even seen half the like. I even like read one of the news headlines. I didn't watch the video, but then I read a news headlines that they mentioned like Dune or something. There was some inspiration from Dune, Star Wars. The way the and Wakanda. So many different movies came into my mind while I was watching it, but I wasn't bored. The movie is like 3 hours long, I guess, but I wasn't bored. It's funny. There's lots of jokes here and there. I think the movie doesn't take itself very seriously. I'm like technically it's good. I already mentioned that I felt like watching a Hollywood movie. The graphics, because the Adi Purush, I watched Adi Purush on Netflix. It was kind of clumsy. E- Even in this movie, there's a few scenes that you know that that are not that you can easily you know y- you can easily figure out like what is this, like it looks a bit clumsy, and for some reason there's nothing like the weapons that they carry, there's nothing original about those weapons. All inspired from some Hollywood movie, right? So other than these small things, I wasn't bored. Like what for what they have achieved, I think it's a pretty good I mean, for an Indian movie, to for me to even say that I actually felt like watching Hollywood movies, I think that itself is a big I hope anybody would have felt the same. It's not just me. I'm not saying I'm some kind of you know because I when something is not that good, y- you don't take that seriously, right? I didn't feel like that while watching the movie. I don't know what others feel. I haven't watched any reviews, but I actually liked it. Hmm. Okay, I think I'm feeling really sleepy. Time for me to go to sleep. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.